Right, let's jump right into it. Today, we're going deep on one of the biggest rivalries in football, the North London Derby, Arsenal versus Tottenham.
It's always a fiery one.
It is. I've got a ton of stats and match previews here, so let's see what we can find, right?
Yeah, looking forward to it.
We're not just, predicting the winner.
Right.
It's about understanding, the stories behind the numbers and the tactics, and maybe, even predicting some of that on-pitch drama. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't talk about this fixture without acknowledging the sheer weight of history that comes with it. It's decades of rivalry, iconic moments that still resonate with the fans.
Totally.
It just adds this whole other layer of pressure and intensity, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So for someone who maybe hasn't followed this rivalry as closely as, some of us diehards, what are some of those key historical moments that have really shaped this showdown?
Well, you've got to go all the way back to like 1913 when Arsenal moved to North London. Suddenly, you had two clubs vying for the same, local support, and that really kickstarted this fierce competition for bragging rights.
Right.
And then you've got legendary matches like Tottenham's 5-1 thrashing of Arsenal back in '83 at White Hart Lane.
Wow.
Or how about Arsenal clinching the title at Tottenham's ground in '71? These aren't just games. They're etched into the memory of both sets of fans,
Yeah. And those memories, they fuel the fire today, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like every match is a continuation of this decades-long saga.
Exactly. That historical context, it just hangs so heavy over the players.
Yeah.
They're carrying the hopes and anxieties of generations of fans on their shoulders. And that psychological factor can play a huge role in how the game actually unfolds on the pitch.
No, absolutely. And you can't ignore that. So, with that in mind, let's fast forward to the present. One of the most striking stats that you sent over was Arsenal's home dominance, right?
It's incredible.
They're undefeated at the Emirates this season in the Premier League.
A real fortress.
A fortress.
Yeah. It's incredibly rare to see that kind of consistency at home, especially in a league as competitive as the Premier League. It really suggests that something's clicking, in terms of tactics and mentality when they play on their own turf. So let's break that down a little bit. What's driving this home dominance for Arsenal? Is it tactical genius from Arteta?
Yeah.
Or is it something more, intangible, like a psychological edge playing in front of their home crowd?
It's probably a combination of both, to be honest. Arteta is known for his tactical flexibility. He adapts his game plan to exploit, opponents' weaknesses.
Huh.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him employ a high press in this match, trying to, disrupt Tottenham's buildup and force them into playing those long balls that Arsenal's defense can deal with pretty comfortably.
But for those of us who maybe don't, eat, sleep, and breathe tactics,
Right.
Can you quickly explain what a high press, what that actually looks like on the pitch?
Okay, so imagine Arsenal's players swarming Tottenham like a pack of wolves the moment they gain possession.
Okay.
Closing down space, pressuring the player on the ball, trying to force a mistake. It's very high energy, aggressive approach, Designed to win the ball back very quickly and launch those quick attacks.
So it's not just about defending, it's about suffocating the opponent.
Exactly, dictating the tempo.
Yeah. But can they handle that kind of pressure? Because their away form hasn't been exactly, stellar, has it?
Yeah, they've struggled on the road, especially against the top teams. They've only won 2 of their last 8 away games. And that kind of raises some interesting questions, doesn't it? Is it tactical? Do they change their approach on the road? Or could it be, a bit of a mental block, maybe feeling the pressure more intensely in those hostile environments?
Especially at the Emirates, where Tottenham haven't won a Premier League match since 2010.
Exactly. It's a long time.
That's got to weigh on their minds.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost like this psychological barrier they have to overcome. You can't help but wonder if that history sort of creeps into their game plan,
Yeah.
Makes them more cautious or hesitant to take those risks that they might normally take.
So you've got Arsenal's fortress, Tottenham's away struggles, and this layer of historical baggage. It's like a mental game of chess before they even step onto the pitch.
Oh, for sure. And that's before we even factor in the tactical battle between Arteta, and Tottenham's new manager, Ange Postecoglou. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah,
Arteta seems to have consistently outmaneuvered Tottenham's managers in recent years.
he has.
It'll be fascinating to see how Postecoglou, who favors that fast-paced attacking style, how he tries to break down Arsenal's solidity at the back.
Now, speaking of attacks, one stat that jumped out to me was that both teams have scored in their last 6 encounters at the Emirates.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Could we be in for a goal fest here?
It's certainly a possibility. I mean, it tells us that both teams are capable of creating those chances and finding the back of the net, even against each other. Arsenal with their fluid attacking movements and Tottenham with their potent counterattacking threat led by, a game changer like Son. It could definitely be a high-scoring affair.
And Son loves scoring against Arsenal.
Yeah.
He was scored in 4 of his last 7 appearances against them.
He does. He really does. He's a real threat, especially as an inverted winger. Cutting in from the left, he can unleash those powerful shots or create havoc with, his pace and dribbling ability. And in a high-stakes match like this, Son thrives under pressure.
He does.
He seems to elevate his game when the spotlight is the brightest.
Okay, so for anyone who's not, glued to every single Premier League match, can you break down what you mean by inverted winger?
All right, so imagine a right-footed player like Son starting on the left wing. Instead of staying wide and hugging the touchline, he cuts inside towards the center of the pitch, using his stronger foot to shoot or create those passing angles.
Right.
It's a tactic that allows wingers to be more directly involved in attacks, and really exploit those spaces in the middle of the field.
So it's not just about speed, it's about creating, chaos.
Exactly. Unpredictability.
In the heart of that opponent's defense.
Absolutely. And with a player like Son, who's got incredible finishing ability and a knack for finding space, it can be a real nightmare for defenders to handle.
Yeah. All right, so we've got Arsenal's home dominance, Tottenham's attacking potential, and the added spice of this historical rivalry. It's already shaping up to be a fascinating match. But there's one more factor we need to consider, and that's fatigue.
Yeah.
Tottenham just had this grueling FA Cup match that went into extra time. Could that give Arsenal an edge, do you think?
It's definitely something to watch. Playing 120 minutes just a few days before a high-intensity derby like this, it can take its toll. Muscle fatigue, mental drain,
Sure.
it can all add up. And against a team like Arsenal, who are so good at controlling possession and dictating that tempo, those tired legs could be exposed.
So Tottenham might be, riding high after their FA Cup win, but that victory could come at a cost in this match.
It's a delicate balance, isn't it? They'll be on a wave of momentum, but will their bodies, be able to keep up with the demands of a North London derby? I guess that's a question that will be answered on the pitch.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered a lot already. We've got this historical rivalry, contrasting styles, and the potential impact of fatigue.
Yeah.
Before we go on to the specific tactical approaches that we might see on the day, let's just take a moment to address our listener directly, right? Why does all this matter? Why is this match such a big deal?
Well, I mean, this is about more than just 3 points, isn't it? This is about pride, bragging rights, and a rivalry that runs deep in the heart of North London. The winner gets to walk a little taller, talk a little bit louder, and just revel in those all-important bragging rights for weeks to come.
And for the fans, I mean, it's an emotional roller coaster, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The highs are higher, the lows are lower, and every single moment is, magnified tenfold.
The atmosphere will be electric. The chants, the banners, the sheer passion on display, it's something you have to experience to truly understand. It's really a testament to the power of football to bring people together, even in the midst of a rivalry as fierce as this one.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Now, let's take a closer look at those tactical chess moves that we might see from both managers. Buckle up, because this is where, the real strategic brilliance comes into play.
All right, so let's step onto that tactical pitch, where the real battle of wits is going to unfold. We've talked about Arsenal's possession-based dominance at home and Tottenham's ability to counterattack with, lethal speed. But how will these styles actually clash on the day?
That's what I'm really eager to unpack here. It feels like we've got this classic tactical dilemma. If Arsenal push too high, trying to maintain their usual control, they risk leaving those gaps for, Son and Tottenham's pacey attackers to exploit.
Exactly. And if I'm Arteta, I'm drilling into my team, the importance of disciplined pressing. They can't afford to get caught out of position. You might see Arsenal use a tactic called a high press with a safety net.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. Safety net. That sounds like a prudent approach in a game like this. How would that work?
It means that while the forward line, harasses Tottenham's defenders, a couple of Arsenal players, maybe a midfielder and a defender. They hold back slightly.
Okay.
They're essentially the safety net to prevent those lightning fast counterattacks if Tottenham manages to break through that initial press.
So it's controlled aggression for Arsenal.
Exactly.
But what about Tottenham? Do you think they'll stick to their counterattacking, guns, or will the pressure of the occasion and that Emirates curse, will that force them to be a little bit more proactive?
That's the million-dollar question. While Tottenham, under Postecoglou, love to attack, they're also pragmatic. They've shown they can adapt. I wouldn't be surprised if they cede possession early on, allowing Arsenal to have the ball in less dangerous areas, and then just wait for those right moments to strike.
So it's like a tactical game of cat and mouse.
Exactly, waiting for the opponent to make that mistake, and then pouncing with precision.
And that's where individual brilliance can really change the course of a match, right?
Oh, absolutely. One moment of magic from a player like Son, a perfectly timed run from Kane, and suddenly Tottenham are in on goal.
Speaking of Kane, we haven't really mentioned him much yet.
It's true.
The man who holds the record for the most goals scored in North London derbies. Surely he'll be a key factor in Tottenham's approach.
Oh, he's more than just a goal scorer. He's like the complete striker. He can hold the ball up, link up, play with his wingers, make those clever runs that create space for others. If Tottenham can get him involved early and often, he'll be a constant threat.
And on the Arsenal side, who do you see as the key players to watch?
Well, besides their captain Odegaard, who orchestrates their attacks with such finesse, I'd keep an eye on Gabriel Martinelli.
Okay.
He's got that blistering pace. He can cut in from the left, just like Son does for Tottenham. To create scoring opportunities. This could be a real battle of the wingers on both flanks.
Yes, so many intriguing matchups to watch for. But one thing that's been on my mind is that stat about both teams scoring in their last 6 encounters at the Emirates. Should we expect another, end-to-end thriller with goals galore?
While it's tempting to assume that trend will continue, it's not a sure bet.
Okay.
Both teams have made defensive improvements since those previous encounters. Arsenal, in particular, have been much more solid at the back this season.
So it might not be a goal fest, but I have a feeling there will be moments of defensive vulnerability, especially with all this attacking talent on display.
Yeah.
Is there a potential weakness in either team's defense that you think the opponent could exploit?
You're right. Even the best defenses have their vulnerabilities. Arsenal, for all their defensive solidity, can sometimes struggle against teams that press them high up the pitch.
Okay.
Forcing those errors in their build-up play.
Now that's interesting, especially considering Tottenham's high energy style under Postecoglou.
Yeah.
They might just try to turn the tables and disrupt Arsenal's rhythm right from the start.
That's a tactic they could definitely employ. And if they can win the ball high up the pitch, they'll have Arsenal's backline scrambling to recover.
So it's not just about who has the best defense. It's about who can expose the opponent's vulnerabilities and really capitalize on those moments of uncertainty.
Precisely. And that's where tactical flexibility and in-game adjustments become crucial.
Yeah.
Both managers will be watching closely, looking for those ways to adapt and gain an advantage as the match unfolds.
All right, I'm already feeling that tension building, and we haven't even kicked off yet. Before we go any further, let's take a step back and address our listener directly, right? Mm-hmm. You've sent us this great material, and we're diving deep into it. But why should you care about all this tactical analysis? What does it add to your enjoyment of the match?
It's a great question. Understanding that tactical side of things can really transform your viewing experience. It's like having a secret decoder ring, Instead of just seeing, players running around, you start to see the patterns, the strategies, and those subtle moments of brilliance that often go unnoticed.
It's like being like in the mind of the manager, isn't it?
Exactly.
Anticipating those moves, understanding decisions, and really appreciating that chess match unfolding before your eyes.
And when you see a tactical plan come together, a perfectly timed run or a defensive move that snuffs out an attack, it just adds a whole new level of appreciation for the game.
Yeah, it's not just about the goals and the drama. It's about the intelligence and the artistry behind every move.
And in a match as tactically complex and emotionally charged as the North London Derby, that deeper understanding can make it even more thrilling to watch.
Okay, so we've got the stage set for this tactical showdown. But there's one more element that could sway the balance of this match, the mental game. We've talked about the historical baggage, but let's talk about the current psychological state of both teams. We talked about Tottenham's potential fatigue after that extra time FA Cup match.
Yeah.
But could that actually work in their favor? Maybe it'll fuel this nothing to lose mentality, make them even more dangerous.
It's a fascinating thought. Fatigue can sometimes be a motivator. It can push players to dig deeper, to fight harder, especially in a match with such high stakes. And let's not forget, Tottenham won that FA Cup tie.
They did.
So they're going to be riding a wave of confidence coming into this one.
Yeah, so you've got Arsenal, the home favorites, carrying the weight of expectation, and Tottenham, kind of the underdogs, potentially energized by their recent victory and a sense of defying those odds.
Yeah, and don't forget, Arsenal won the first meeting between these two teams this season.
Yeah, that's right.
That could add a layer of psychological pressure for them.
Yeah.
The need to prove that wasn't a fluke. You know what I mean?
Right.
Meanwhile, Tottenham might have a score to settle.
Yeah.
A chance to avenge that earlier defeat.
It's really amazing how these psychological threads, they kind of weave themselves into the fabric of the match. Mm-hmm. It's not just about, physical ability. It's about mental resilience, focus, and who can really handle the pressure cooker of a North London derby.
It's true. And that's what makes this fixture so unpredictable. Form, stats, tactical analysis, it can all go out the window when you factor in that emotional intensity.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we approach kickoff, what's your gut feeling? What kind of narrative do you see kind of unfolding on the pitch?
It's tough to say definitively, but I'm leaning towards a cagey, tense affair early on. Both teams will be wary of making those mistakes, respecting each other's strengths.
Right.
But as the match progresses, I think we'll see that tension break, and that's when the real fireworks could begin.
I can picture it now, the roar of the crowd, the crunching tackles, those flashes of brilliance from players like Son and Martinelli, and who knows, maybe even a late winner to send one set of fans into ecstasy and the other into despair.
That's the beauty of the North London Derby.
Yeah.
It's a match that rarely disappoints in terms of drama and intensity.
All right. Before we wrap up, let's give our listener, one final nugget of wisdom here. If you had to pick one key factor, one thing to watch for that might tip the scales in one team's favor, what would it be?
It all comes down to mentality for me. Which team can best handle that pressure?
Yeah.
Who can maintain their discipline and composure when the game gets a bit chaotic.
Right.
That's where the match will be won and lost.
I love that. It's not just about who has the best players or the most intricate tactics. It's about who wants it more,
Absolutely.
Who can dig deeper, who can really channel the energy of that incredible atmosphere and use it to their advantage.
Exactly. That's what separates the great teams from the good ones in matches like this.
Well said. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from historical context to tactical nuances to the psychological battle that's going to unfold on the pitch. But ultimately, the best part is that we're just at the beginning of the story.
The beauty of football is that it's a game of infinite possibilities. No matter how much we analyze and predict, there's always room for the unexpected.
Yeah.
The moment of magic, the twist of fate that rewrites the script.
And that's what keeps us coming back for more. So to our listener, as you settle in to watch this North London derby, remember those narratives we've discussed, the insights we've shared, but most importantly, embrace that unpredictability.
Yeah.
Savor those moments of brilliance and enjoy the ride.
Because when Arsenal and Tottenham clash, it's more than just a game.
Look.
It's a spectacle, a story, a piece of footballing history unfolding before